Record. Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Back again on Assassins Part 2. Always remember, if this is the kind of content you like and you want to see more, like, comment, subscribe, let me know what tribe I should do next, as this is the conclusion to our Assassins. So, let's get started, and this brings us to Khans of Tarkir with Marek Nightblade for 3 and a black. It's a 2/3 with Outlast, and you can tap it to put a counter on this creature. But for each creature you control with a +1 counter on it, it has Death Touch. So, along with, the destroy target creatures that we seen the last one, this one puts it on it and gives out Death Touch like it's candy, just for being just a little bit bigger. Ruthless Ripper for 1 black. It's a 1/1 with Death Touch, but if you morph it, you pay 3 to put it face down as a 2/2, but you reveal a black card in your hand to flip it back up. And when it is turned face up, target player loses 2 life. So they'll lose 2. You flip it, and then they lose 2 more, or any player. That's actually not that bad. Hooded Assassin for 2 and a black. It's a 1/2. When it enters the battlefield, choose one. You can put a counter on him, or you can destroy a target creature that was dealt damage this turn. Silumgar Assassin for 1 and a black. It's a 2/1 human assassin. Creatures with power greater than Silumgar's power can't block it. So if it's a 2, you can't block it. And it also has Megamorph, so you can do the thing where you flip it, pay 3, put it on face down, and then pay 3 to flip it back up. And then you put a counter on it. When it is turned face up, destroy target creature power 3 or less in opponent controls. That's not bad. Eyeblight Assassin for 2 and a black. It's a 2/2. And it enters the battlefield, target creature in opponent controls gets -1/-1 to zone to turn. Hagra Sharpshooter for 2 and a black. It's a 2/2, and this was back in the what is it called? Zendikar days, the original, the second Zendikar set. But for 4 and a black, you can give target creature -1/-1 to turn. Now this one isn't a counter, and so far none of them have been giving counters. They're just passing them out -1/-1. Narcana Assassin for 2 and a black. It's a 2/3. Whenever you gain life, it gains Death Touch until end of turn. Wow, I haven't seen this one in a while. It's pretty bad that I'm an Assassin's Creed fan and I don't do a lot of Assassin decks. Pretty odd. Thorn of the Black Rose for 3 and a black. It's a 1/3 with Death Touch. When it enters the battlefield, you become the Monarch. It's actually pretty funny because it looks like she's going in to murder the one that's in charge, to be the next in line to be in charge, with a poisoned blade, super poisoned. Queen Marchesa for 1, a red, a white, and a black. It's a 3/3 with Death Touched and Haste. And when it enters the battlefield, you become the Monarch. At the beginning of your upkeep, if an opponent is the Monarch, put a 1/1 black assassin creature token on the battlefield with Death Touched and Haste. It's actually pretty good. Virtus the Veiled for 2 and a black. It's a 1/1, and this is the first time we see an Azra, yeah, I think that's how they put it, as an assassin, because usually they're, fighters, warriors, stuff like that. But he partners with Gorm the Great, which is a warrior type. He's kind of like a Chainer and Kamal deal going on here. But he has Death Touch, and when he deals combat damage to a player, that player loses half their life rounded up. So if you can find a way to just sneak him in, just real nice and easy, just sneak him in, they lose half their life. Hired Blade for 2 and a black. It's a 3/2 with Flash. So it can surprise somebody when they try to get in for that 1 damage. Oh, well, I'll let you have it. Psych. We're going to take that token out. Blood Operative. Oh, man. I tell you, out of all the weapons I've seen, I've never seen That type of weapon where it's a stick on one side and a blade on the other. It really reminds me of what is the name of that movie where it's a he's blind but he can see ultraviolet. If you know, leave it down in the comments below because I cannot remember it to save my life. But for 1 and 2 black, it's a 3/1 with Vampire Assassin with lifelink. When it enters the battlefield, you may exile target card from a graveyard. Whenever you surveil, if it's in your graveyard, you may pay 3 life. If you do, return it to your hand. I mean, if you gain life before it died, you do nothing else but give it back. You know, you repay it for its kindness. But I really just do. I can't not admire the weapons that he's wielding. And he's in really good, like, dark clothing. I love it. Hired Poisoner for a single black. It's a 1/1 with Death Touch. And that's it. They don't even feel the cut. I'm ordering a drink in a nearby tavern before anyone notices something's wrong. That's actually pretty cool. Dark Blade Agent for 1, a blue and a black. It's a 2/3. As long as you've surveilled this turn, it has Death Touch, and when this creature deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card. Akron Assassin. Ooh. Excuse me. Oh, I can feel the sneeze coming. Let's not. Not on, nope. Okay. For 1, a black and a green, it's a 1/1 with Death Touch, and all creatures able to block Akron Assassin do so. The dagger is just the distraction. I carry the real killer in a vial at my side. This is one of those taunting elf type effects where, you know, you're gonna have to block it, but it's not as bad as you think it's gonna be. You might die, but it's not gonna kill your whole board. And this would probably be, if we don't get any more in the Assassin's Creed set they're coming out with here in about a year or so, this would probably be the #1, like, assassin commander, in my opinion. Because, I mean, aesthetically, this is what I would choose. So for 2 and a blue and a black, it's a 3/5 legendary creature vampire assassin. It can't be blocked. When it deals combat damage to a player, exile target creature that player controls and put a hit counter on that creature, on that card. That player loses the game if they own 3 or more exiled cards with hit counters on them. Atrada's owner shuffles Atrada into their library. So if you can find a way to just, I don't know, I mean, it just seems like if there was a way to manipulate that. If you know a way, leave it down in the comments. That'd be great. Oh, because it'd be great if you could find a way to just bloop bloop. Oh, nope, it doesn't. Braska's Finisher for 2 and a black. It's a 3/2. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls that was dealt damage this turn. Okay, so this is me. I don't like the effect of if it was dealt damage. I think that because it's like a draft thing, this would be good. But to me personally, I just don't like it. Karul's Stinger for 2 and a green. It is a 2/2 with Death Touch. It is an insect assassin. So if you're looking to build an insect deck, this has Death Touch. Massacre Girl for 3 and 2 black. It's a 4/4 with Menace. But it doesn't stop there, because when it enters the battlefield, each other creature gets a -1/-1 until end of turn. When a creature dies this turn, each creature other than Massacre Girl gets -1/-1 until end of turn. So, while she is effectively working her way onto the battlefield, if there's a 1/1, it dies, then all the rest of the creatures besides her get another one. Another -1/-1. Then a 2/2 dies. We'll say there's 2 2/2s that die. So now there's an instance of 2 -1/-1 counters getting put onto the battlefield. So 4/4s die, then 5/5s die, then 6/6 die, and so on and so on. You can wreck a board with this. I've done it many a times. It's really good. I love it. Nightshade Assassin. I was about to say Nightblade Assassin. We've already covered that one. For 2 and a 2 black, it's a 2/1 with First Strike. When it enters the battlefield, you may reveal X black cards in your hand. If you do, Target creature gets -X until end of turn. And this has madness, so that's actually pretty cool. I don't know about this artwork, though. It seems like she's manipulating the blood for somehow. I don't know. It's really strange. You usually see, like, vampires that have the ability to wield blood. Clesian the Plague for a red, white, and a black. This would also be another one of those ones that I don't know, maybe Marchesa has the Mardu on lock. The Mardu deck. But for, the red, the white, and the black, you get a 2/2 legendary creature human assassin with vigilance and haste. It gets a +1/+1 for each experience counter you have. And you can tap it, deal 1 damage to target creature you don't control. When that creature dies this turn, you get an experience counter. Lurking Deadeye. Ooh, man, that's got to be a heck of a bow to try and pull. It's got 3 arrows on it. But for 3 and a black, you get a 4/2 with flash. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target creature that was dealt damage this turn. Twin Blade Assassins for 3, a black, and a green. You get a 5/4 Elf Assassin. At the beginning of your end step, if a creature died this turn, draw a card. I could actually probably use this in, even though it doesn't fit the theme, but, you could probably use this in Seraph decks, because it'll just, if you get a counter, you'll draw a card too. Briarblade Adept. This was probably back in the Lorwyn block. It just looks, or unless it's an original card, I don't know. Oh yeah, it probably was because it has Encore. So for 4 and a black, it's a 3/4. Whenever it attacks, target creature an opponent controls gets -1/-1 to turn, and it has Encore for 3 and a black. And if you don't know what Encore does, you exile it from your graveyard for the 3 and the black. For each opponent, you create a token that attacks that opponent this turn if able. They gain haste and sacrifice them at the beginning of the next end step, and you can only do it at sorcery speed. Flesh Taker, good old Flesh Taker. See, I played this in a standard deck. It was a white-black standard deck. It was really dependent on sacking creatures and drawing cards and draining your opponent out. But for 1 and a white and a black, it's a 2/2. Whenever you sacrifice another creature, you gain a life and you scry 1. But it also has the ability to tap 1, sacrifice another creature, and get +2/+2 on the turn. Which is actually pretty cool because you keep stacking it and making it huge. Skulking Killer for 3 and a black. It's a 4/2. When it enters the battlefield, target creature an opponent controls gets -2/-2 until end of turn if that opponent controls no other creatures. That's actually extremely specific. This is probably one of my favorite ones because I've built a deck around this one. And hello, the painter. And hello to you too. For a blue, a black, and a red, it's a 1/3 legendary creature vampire assassin with Death Touch. This one also would probably be really good for a spell slinger deck, spell slinger assassin deck. The first instant or sorcery you cast each turn has casualty 2. See, I built this deck around zombies. You can play spells that make more zombies, and you sack a zombie, and guess what? You make even more zombies. And you just keep going. If you have the mana, you can start playing them on other people's turns. You have the ability, you start playing on other people's turns. It's actually really pretty fun. Everybody kind of looks at me funny whenever I start milling myself to rise from the tides. Midnight Assassin for 2 and a black. It's a 1/2 with flying and Death Touch. It's actually pretty good for 3. Raffine's Silencer for 2 and a black. It's a 1/1, and when it enters the battlefield, it connives. I said connives. Hey, that's pretty funny. It's a assassin and it connives. When Raffine's Silencer dies, target creature an opponent controls gets a -1/-1 until end of turn, where X is Raffine's Silencer's power. So at the most, if you can do it multiple times, it in 3/3 probably at the most. But I don't see it doing more than 2. Aven Heartstabber for a blue and a black. It's a 1/1 with flying, and as long as there are 5 or more mana values among cards in your graveyard, it gets +2/+2 and has Death Touch. When it dies, mill 2 cards and then draw a card. This is another one of those single color creatures I would definitely use as a commander. Mari the Killing Quill. For 1 and 2 black, it's a 3/2. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, exile it with a hit counter. This would go really well with Trotta, because it eventually just starts piling up the hit counters for you. And then Trotta gets on the battlefield and they're dead. Assassins, mercenaries, and rogues you control have death touch, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, you may remove a hit counter from a card that player owns in exile. Note, you may. So if you need to keep all the hit counters on all those creatures, you can. And if you do, you draw a card and create 2 treasure tokens. But if you don't, you can just make 2 mana and get a card, which that could be very good also. Guild Sworn Prowler. For 1 and a black, it's a 2/1 with death touch, and when it dies, if it wasn't blocking, you draw a card. Ravenloft Adventurer. For 3 and a black, it is a 3/4 human rogue assassin, so it's checking off all the boxes. When it enters the battlefield, you initiative. You take the initiative. There we go. I didn't get a lot of Baldur's Gate. If a creature an opponent controls will die, instead exile and put a hit counter on it. There we go. More hit counters. Whenever it attacks, if you've completed a dungeon, defeating player loses 1 life for each card they own in exile with a hit counter on it. It's actually pretty decent. And here we go to the blue-black one that I would probably choose if I didn't choose a Trotta. Ramses, Assassin Lord. For 2, a black and a blue, it's a 4/4 with death touch. Other assassins you control get +1/+1. Whenever a player loses the game, if they were attacked this turn by an assassin you control, you win the game. So if you can find a way to kill them off real quick, and it has to be an assassin, so you're playing an assassin deck, then you win the game. Pretty straightforward, but you definitely do not want to put this in the command zone, because they will just see this coming from a mile away, and you will not like how they respond to you. Syra the Golden Sting. For 1, a black, a green, and a red, it's a 3/3 with flying and haste. Whenever Syra the Golden Sting attacks, put an egg counter on another target creature without an egg counter on it. When that creature dies, if it has an egg counter on it, draw a card and create a 1/1 black insect creature token with flying. Chaldeus Assassin. This is from the Warhammer 40k deck. For 4, a blue and a black, it's a 3/3 with flash, and it has the ability Polymorphine. I think that's how it said. You may have Chaldeus Assassin enter the battlefield tapped as a copy of any creature on the battlefield except it has. When this creature enters the battlefield, destroy up to 1 other target creature with the same name as this creature. So for 6 mana, you can choose anything that's not indestructible and keep it. Or if you really want that Blightsteel, this is how you do it. Because you still have a Blightsteel and they still have a Blightsteel. But if they try to attack with theirs, you can just get in with yours. Gixian Skullflayer. For 2 and a black, it's a 2/3. At the beginning of your upkeep, if there are 3 or more creature cards in your graveyard, you put a counter on it. Which I like this one too. I try to build a pre-release deck around black and red, sacrifice. Termination Facilitator. And I like the art on this card. It's pretty cool to me. For 1 and a black, it's a 1/3. And this is from the 2022 Jumpstart set. You can tap him and put a bounty counter on target creature or planeswalker. Activate only as a sorcery. Whenever a creature or planeswalker an opponent controls with a bounty counter on it is dealt damage, destroy it. And the flavor text is great. You sign, they die. Simple as that. You could say that in a Jersey accent. That'd be pretty cool. And then we get to our last card, the Sting Blade Assassin. For 3 and a black, it's a 3/1 with flash and flying. And when it enters the battlefield, destroy target creature and opponent controls that was dealt damage this turn. So we're returning back to the if it was dealt damage this turn. But that is going to be it for today, everybody. I really appreciate everybody that likes, comments, subscribes. We're still up in the 130s, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. I did put out a short that I wanted to try and, rally up before Friday the 13th, but it is what it is. But that is going to be it for today. And I guess I will see you guys next time in the graveyard.